Hi, I'm Karthik. Today we'll be talking about the Nelson Rules node, and this is a successor to the previous video we had where we went over the properties of the Nelson Rules and just had a brief overview of what the Nelson Rules node looks like on the Prescient Designer. So what you can see right here is the designer, and so how do you get to the Nelson Rules node? This is basically in the hamburger menu on the right. You can hit manage palette, install, and in install just search for Nelson Rules, and here it is. This is installed. In my case, you can just hit the install here, and you might have to restart your designer, but it will be there. Then to search for the Nelson Rules, just go into filter nodes and search. You have Nelson Rules here. So how do you go to the information about Nelson Rules? You can just click on the node, and then you have the help button here, which is this book shaped help button, and this is where you have all the information about the node. This gives you all the message properties. This means that all the messages that can be passed into the Nelson Rules node, like when you do a message.clear, it clears all the statistics. You can pass in and hard code an average and standard deviation. If you want to know more about how the Nelson Rules works, just please go back to the previous video and you can find it there. So let's look at the node itself. It's pretty simple to use. You have one data field where you can specify where your payload value, that is your value of interest, is streaming in from. In my case, it's very simply just payload for the purpose of demonstration. You can also specify the number of points. So what this basically does is, the higher the number of points, the more outputs you will have without any rules being checked. How this helps is basically like a filter to make sure that your rules start appearing only after the first 150 points, when you can be certain that your standard deviation and mean has stabilized enough to create a good enough basis for this node. And there are two forms of inputs that work in the Nelson Rules node. Let's look at them. So one is you can just directly keep sending values in. For the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna keep this value very low to 3. So what has basically happened now is you won't have rules being generated for the first 3 points, but then the statistics are still being calculated in the background. Let's connect these and deploy. Yeah, so now that this is deployed, all you have to do is hit a few buttons and so now that this is deployed, all you have to do is hit a few buttons here, 2, 1, 3, and what you can see over here is basically in the output you have the average that has been generated until now, the standard deviation that has been generated until now, and these rules. So basically it's a 0 length array because there are no rules being violated. The first 3 values are not being checked for the Nelson Rules, and so beyond this point, you're actually susceptible to Nelson Rules being applied. You can start seeing, when you have too many repetitions, you can start seeing the rules being violated here. You can induce as many errors as you want in this kind of situation. And so over here, rule number 2 and rule number 7 is being violated. And so what is rule number 2? The rule number 2 is actually from here. The rules from the Wikipedia page, and it's ordering. This is actually a pretty convenient node because you can send in arrays as such also with and this applies Nelson rules to the whole batch overall, and we can see what it looks like. So over here now you have the progressive Nelson rules being applied over the entire array of inputs, and then this basically represents the set of rules on this whole system overall. The designer is incredibly easy to use. Just imagine like you can have any data connector from anywhere like Kafka or anything, process your data, have it dashboarded, being sent into any database directly or whatsoever. And the Nelson rules node is basically a part of that entire ecosystem. Thank you.